The words hit harder than my last round of chemo. I sat in the sterile hospital hallway, port still tender from yesterday's treatment, watching my mother pace back and forth on her phone with the wedding photographer. "Yes, we need to move the family portraits to next Tuesday," she said, not even glancing at me. "My daughter's medical situation is flexible." Flexible. That's what she called my stage 3 lymphoma. My father emerged from his corner office, white coat pristine, hospital ID badge gleaming with Chief of Internal Medicine in bold letters. Dr. Richard Hayes, the same man who'd built his career on patient-centered care, was about to ask his own daughter to delay life-saving treatment for wedding photos. "Emma," he said, voice carrying that authoritative tone he used in medical conferences. "Your sister's wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Surely Dr. Martinez can adjust your chemotherapy schedule by a few days." I touched the port under my shirt, feeling the raised bump beneath the fabric. 3 months of treatment had taught me that chemo schedules weren't suggestions. They were carefully calculated protocols designed to keep me alive. But explaining oncology to an internal medicine chief felt like explaining poetry to a calculator. "The timing is critical, Dad," Dr. Martinez specifically said. "I've been practicing medicine for 25 years. He cut me off. "I think I understand treatment protocols." Mom ended her call and turned to us, her face flushed with wedding stress. "The photographer can only do family portraits on Tuesday. Emma, you'll just have to make this work. Sarah's been planning this day for 2 years. Sarah, my golden child sister who'd never worked a day in her life but somehow managed to land a hedge fund manager fiancé. Sarah, whose medical degree from Google University apparently qualified her to offer treatment advice. Sarah, who'd spent the last month complaining that my cancer drama was overshadowing her special day. Besides," Mom continued, "you look terrible in photos right now anyway. The wedding pictures will be better if you're more yourself." More myself. Translation: when I had hair again and didn't look like a cancer patient. I'd been supporting this family financially for 3 years, ever since my biotech consulting firm started generating serious revenue. Their mortgage, Sarah's credit card bills, Dad's country club dues, all flowing from my accounts while I built a business that had quietly become one of the most respected oncology research consultancies on the East Coast. Not that they'd noticed. "What does your little computer job matter compared to your sister's happiness?" Mom had said when I'd tried to explain why I couldn't miss work for wedding dress shopping. Little computer job. I'd helped develop the treatment protocol that was currently saving my life. Dr. Martinez had been clear. Delays in this particular chemotherapy regimen could significantly impact outcomes. But my family saw cancer treatment like a dentist appointment. Inconvenient but reschedulable. "I'll call Dr. Martinez," Dad announced. "Professional courtesy. He'll understand." Professional courtesy. I watched him dial, knowing exactly how this would go. Dad would use his hospital credentials to pressure an oncologist into compromising his patient's care. The same man who'd given speeches about medical ethics was about to violate every principle he'd supposedly built his career on. The call lasted 3 minutes. Dad's voice carried down the hallway as he name-dropped his position, mentioned hospital politics, suggested that accommodating the Hayes family would be appreciated. Dr. Martinez's response was polite but firm. The treatment schedule stayed unchanged. Dad's face reddened as he ended the call. "Stubborn. These specialists think they know everything." "So Emma can't delay?" Mom asked, looking like someone had just canceled Christmas. "Dr. Martinez refuses to budge." Dad's jaw tightened. "Sometimes you have to work around difficult colleagues." That's when I realized he wasn't done. Dad had that look he got before hospital board meetings, calculating, determined to win regardless of the cost. Over the next week, the pressure intensified. Sarah called me crying about how I was ruining everything. Mom enlisted aunts and cousins to explain how family comes first. Dad made pointed comments about Dr. Martinez's rigid thinking and poor bedside manner. But the real blow came during Sunday dinner at my parents' house. The house I'd been paying the mortgage on for 2 years. "We've made a decision," Dad announced over dessert. "Dr. Peterson from Oncology has agreed to supervise your treatment. He's much more collaborative." Dr. Peterson. I knew him by reputation. A competent physician who'd been struggling with hospital politics lately. Someone who might bend under pressure from the chief of internal medicine. Dr. Martinez has been removed from your case, Mom added cheerfully. Dr. Peterson agrees that a few days won't make any difference. They'd actually done it. Used Dad's position to manipulate my medical care for wedding photos. That night, I sat in my apartment, the apartment I'd bought with my own money while they lived in the house I paid for, and made a decision that would change everything. I opened my laptop and began typing. Dr. Sarah Chin, my business partner and one of the most respected oncology researchers in the country, answered on the first ring. Emma? It's late. How are you feeling? I need a favor, Sarah. A big one. What my family didn't know was that our biotech consultancy had just been acquired by MedTech International for $47 million. They didn't know that I'd been invited to present our latest research at the International Oncology Ethics Conference next month. They definitely didn't know that Dr. Sarah Chin, my business partner, was the incoming president of the American Medical Ethics Board. Tell me everything, Sarah said after I'd explained the situation. 2 days later, I received an official letter on Medical Ethics Board letterhead. My case had been selected for presentation at the National Conference on Medical Ethics in Healthcare Administration. The presentation would examine how family pressure and administrative influence could compromise oncology care protocols. The conference was scheduled for next Tuesday, the same day as Sarah's wedding photos. I didn't tell my family about the letter. I simply showed up at the hospital Tuesday morning for my regularly scheduled chemotherapy appointment with Dr. Martinez, who'd been quietly reinstated after the Medical Ethics Board's inquiry into administrative interference in oncology protocols. Emma. Mom's voice echoed down the hospital corridor. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be at the photographer's studio. Dad appeared behind her, face flushed with anger. This is ridiculous. Dr. Peterson cleared you for delay. Dr. Peterson is currently under investigation, I said calmly, watching their faces change. Along with several other physicians who've allowed administrative pressure to compromise patient care. Investigation. Dad's voice cracked slightly. That's when the conference attendees began arriving. 50 of the country's most prominent medical ethicists, oncology specialists and hospital administrators, all gathering for the afternoon session on administrative pressure in cancer care, a case study. Sarah appeared in the hallway, wedding dress bag in hand, photographer trailing behind her. Emma. Everyone's waiting. You're already an hour late. Dr. Sarah Chin emerged from the conference room, tablet in hand, surrounded by colleagues. She was presenting our case study in 30 minutes. The case of a hospital administrator who'd used his position to pressure an oncologist into compromising his own daughter's cancer treatment for a family wedding. Are you Emma Hayes? One of the attendees asked. Dr. Chin mentioned you'd be here. We're looking forward to your perspective on the case. My father's face went white. Case? What case? The Hayes case, Dr. Chin explained, extending her hand to my father. You must be Dr. Richard Hayes, Chief of Internal Medicine. Your daughter's situation has become quite the talking point in medical ethics circles. The photographer was snapping pictures, capturing the moment when my father realized his medical license was about to become a case study in professional misconduct. The Medical Ethics Board has some questions about your recent interference in oncology protocols, Dr. Chin continued. Particularly your removal of Dr. Martinez from your daughter's case to accommodate a family wedding. Sarah dropped her dress bag. What's happening? Your father used his hospital position to compromise cancer treatment, one of the ethics board members explained. The case is being presented to hospital administrators nationwide as an example of how personal interests can corrupt medical judgment. The conference room was filling with attendees. Through the open door I could see my case details on the projection screen. Administrative coercion in oncology, when family pressure compromises patient care. This is a misunderstanding, Dad stammered. I was simply trying to help my daughter balance her treatment with family obligations. Dr. Chin pulled up her tablet. According to our investigation, you contacted Dr. Martinez directly, mentioning hospital politics and suggesting that accommodating your family would be appreciated. When he refused, you had him removed from the case and replaced with Dr. Peterson, who agreed to delay treatment against medical judgment. The attending physicians were taking notes. Someone mentioned documenting this for medical school ethics curricula. The American Medical Ethics Board, Dr. Chin announced, has recommended Dr. Hayes' case be forwarded to the State Medical Licensing Board for review. My mother grabbed my arm. Emma, tell them this is a mistake. Tell them you wanted to delay treatment. But I was already walking toward the conference room, where I'd been invited to share my perspective as the patient whose treatment had been compromised by family pressure. The presentation lasted 45 minutes. I explained how a terminal diagnosis had become secondary to wedding photography in my family's priorities. How a hospital administrator had abused his position to manipulate his daughter's cancer care. How the pressure to prioritize family events over medical protocols had made me question whether my life mattered less than my sister's perfect day. The audience was silent when I finished. Dr. Chin closed the presentation with the investigation's findings. Dr. Hayes will face a medical licensing review. The hospital board has initiated an inquiry into administrative misconduct. And Dr. Peterson has been referred for additional ethics training. Outside in the hallway, my family waited in stunned silence. Sarah's photographer had left. The wedding photos would have to wait. How could you do this? Sarah whispered. You've ruined everything. I saved my life, I replied. Something our father was willing to risk for your Instagram photos. Dad was on his phone, probably calling lawyers. Mom sat in a hospital chair, wedding dress bag forgotten at her feet. The medical community works faster than most people realize. By evening, the case study had been shared across medical ethics networks. Dr. Hayes, the hospital chief who'd compromised his daughter's cancer treatment for wedding photos, became a cautionary tale in medical schools nationwide. The hospital board met in emergency session the next morning. Dad's position as chief of internal medicine was suspended pending investigation. The state medical board opened a formal inquiry into his license. Sarah's wedding was postponed indefinitely. The hedge fund manager fiancé, concerned about his reputation, suggested a cooling-off period. Mom spent her days calling relatives, trying to explain why the family was suddenly social pariahs. But the real consequence came 3 months later when my treatment protocol, the one Dr. Martinez had originally designed, the one my father had tried to delay, resulted in complete remission. The oncology ethics presentation had saved more than my medical care. It had established clear boundaries that no wedding photo was worth crossing. I moved to a new apartment, one my family had never seen. The mortgage payments on their house stopped the same day my father's medical license was suspended. Sarah called me once, crying about her cancelled wedding and Dad's destroyed career. Was it worth it? She asked. Destroying the family over a few days? My family destroyed itself, I told her, the moment they decided my life was worth less than your photographs. The Hayes case is still taught in medical ethics courses. A reminder that even family loyalty can't justify compromising patient care. And every month when I go for my follow-up appointments, Dr. Martinez reminds me that good medicine doesn't accommodate wedding schedules. My health and my boundaries are no longer negotiable.